I do like that you have us in the shade. This is lovely.
You know, I thought, hey, if we're gonna be outside, I don't want the sun beating down on me.
Yes, yes. Well.
Okay, one of the questions we get asked all the time is, I'm a newbie. What kind of RV should I buy? And that is a loaded freaking question. Like, how am I supposed to know what is good for you or not good for you? Like, seriously?
It's a little tough to answer that question in a comment on one of our videos or just in a very quick passing conversation. So we have devoted an entire episode to breaking down every type of RV there is out there on the market so you know what's right for you.
And we're gonna look like fools while we do it.
Yeah, we're in a public park, so there's people walking around everywhere. Totally fine. Welcome to the Wandering RV Show, your source for our stories,
our screw-ups,
and our successes living the full-time RV life. I'm your host, Kara, the Wandering RV Babe, and this is my driver, Ryan.
Howdy!
That was very enthusiastic.
I had to go for like a really short, sweet, and done.
There you go. Short, sweet, done. What is not short, sweet, and done is subscribing. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, so that way you don't miss an episode. And let's get into it.
So first, I think we need to talk about what are the different kinds of RVs. Yes, an RV is also a towable and one that has a motor behind it.
But it's a vehicle.
Yes, trailers are vehicles too.
Yeah, they don't have to have a motor to be a vehicle. We get that question all the time, or we get people that come into the comments and they're like, that's not an RV because it's a towable, like a travel trailer or fifth wheel or pop-up tent, one of those. We'll get into them here in just a second. But yes, they are all under the umbrella of RV.
So here's the different types. You got tiny ones, medium-sized ones, large ones,
and really, really, really big ones.
Some of them are motorized. There's your lesson for the day. Bye!
First up is probably the most basic or entry-level RVs, and those are your small towables. Pop-up tent trailers, teardrop trailers, things like that. It's one where almost any vehicle with a tow package can tow it, and it kind of gets you into the RV world to be able to start testing things out.
Yeah, it's like you could probably tow this with a vehicle, an SUV or a truck that you already own that you drive back and forth to work for. Like, don't get me wrong, like having a bigger truck is better when you're driving down the road, but in the case of like driving to and from work, a small truck, small SUV, I mean, I've even seen like tiny little Jeeps pulling some of these because they're lightweight, they're designed for it. You could probably pull it with your mom's Mercedes.
You probably could. And the nice thing is it still kind of keeps that camping rustic charm, because really they're only big enough to maybe have a sleeping space, maybe a small little kitchen prep space, and that's about it. Next up is going to be the small to medium-sized travel trailers.
Yeah, these are just bigger versions of the really tiny ones, but they're longer, they're larger, they have more space. You can probably still pull it with like a regular half-ton truck. If you can, they're going to be built lighter and probably get damaged easier, or you can upgrade, get a little bit bigger truck, and then gives you a little bit more flexibility, and that way you're not having to buy the lightest trailer on the road, because guarantee you, if it says L-I-T-E in the name, it's going to fall apart on you. I've heard it from so many.
Yeah, it's going to be made with the cheapest parts possible to make it light. The other thing to keep in mind with the larger towables is you need to have some practice towing and backing that sucker in, because there's a ton of RV campsites that are back-in sites only. So the longer that trailer gets, the more likely it is that you're gonna have to have a little bit of a learning curve getting into those spots.
Yeah, like if you've ever pulled like a little tiny U-Haul trailer whenever you're moving or anything like that, you can probably pull a little teardrop or even a pop-up tent trailer very easily, backing in, doing all the things that you need to do. But once you get past, honestly, like maybe 20 feet, the whole thing changes. Your rear axle is so far behind you that you've got to be making decisions well in advance if you actually want to back up and do what you want to do.
And then you have the daddy of all towables, your fifth wheels and your toy haulers.
Yeah, the fifth wheels, obviously we're big fans of fifth wheels. The other advantage, we kind of dropped the ball on this, the other advantage of the tow behinds is it leaves your bed completely open and usable to put toys or anything else you want to take with you. Whereas once you enter into the fifth wheel and toy hauler range, your bed is now a place to hitch in. You might have a little bit of space around it, but for the most part, your bed is for hitching, and that is what it is being used for.
Exactly, those fifth wheels, and most of the toy haulers that are also fifth wheels, it's just a different type of fifth wheel, hitch on top of the bed of the truck, so that cap is sitting right over the bed of the truck.
But these are very large and usually very heavy, and so you are definitely looking at 3/4 ton, bare minimum, probably 1 ton. Even those little half-ton fifth wheels, you're still going to want probably a 3/4 ton. Just being honest with you, I know you can probably tow it, but you're gonna be at your max, and you never wanna be at your max.
When we say 3/4 ton, we're talking about a 2500 or a 250. When we're talking about a 1 ton, we're talking about a 350 or a 3500.
Or a 450.
Or 450, and then you've got the dualies. And if you've got a dually, you're gonna be all right.
Which the 450 is always a dually. And when you're looking at toy haulers, you definitely want to be looking at a dually, because the weight at the design to be able to handle the weight at the rear of the trailer puts extra weight on the bed of the truck, meaning that you're going to have a much higher hitch weight, which, by the way, we did a video on that on our shorts.
We did, so check those out if you want to see what we mean by looking at gross vehicle weight and pen weight. We could actually do a whole episode dedicated to that, so you'll have to let us know in the comments if you want to see that information or hear that information from us. But moving on.
We can get real technical if you want us to.
So technical. You cannot even understand how technical I can get. I really can't. I don't think we broke down toy haulers. So toy haulers are essentially, they're fifth wheels, but they have a garage in the back so that you can get toys in there, i.e. side-by-sides, motorcycles, things like that.
I've seen some people even take a spare vehicle with them, like a small Jeep even, so that way they don't have to drive their big truck around town. They can literally just drive their Jeep off of the little garage, and then now that's their vehicle on the go. Not all toy haulers are designed for that kind of weight, so you do need to make sure that the ramp is rated for getting a full vehicle inside and not just an ATV, because there is a weight difference.
Very true. Now, if you really want to have some fun going off-grid or towing like a boat or something like that behind you, truck campers are a great option as well.
Yeah, these are basically campers that are designed to fit into the bed of the truck, not hitch, but like they actually fit in there. Now you can put struts down and pull out from it, so it's not like your truck is stuck there. It's just when you're transporting down the road, it's taking up your entire bed, but you still have access possibly to the rear hitch to be able to take like you said, a boat or a toy or something else, whatever you want.
Yeah. They're generally designed for between 1 and 2 people, but they often have bed space, kitchen space, toilet space, things like that. So that way you can just, be off grid and actually still be able to do the things that you want to do.
Then starting our first section on motorized vehicles, the Class B, tiny little van, the van lifers.
That's exactly what a Class B is. I'm not really sure why the Class A is the big out honkin' motorhome, the Class B is the van, and then the Class C is kind of in between the two of them, but that's the way it is. So a Class C is a motorhome that has a truck front, and then generally like some sort of cap over it. That's usually where an extra bed will go, and then the rest of the vehicle is your living quarters. But it's going to be much smaller than those huge honkin' buses, which are your Class A's.
Yeah, basically the Class Bs are usually on some sort of truck or van chassis that's been extended, and then your Class Bs are just on a regular van chassis, and then your Class As are on a custom chassis. That's kind of the easiest way to remember it, but that's not all. There's more differences, but just so you understand. Then you got your Super Cs, which are technically still Class Cs. They're just longer, larger, usually diesel, so that way they can handle the extra weight and be able to drive down the road. Those are very useful, very nice. They're big. They're basically as big as a Class A at this point, but they are still on that more truck chassis feel, if that's what you're comfortable with, where basically the big difference, I think I've always described it to people, is whether you're in front of your steering wheels or behind your steering wheels, because when you're driving a truck, obviously, or a car, anything, any regular vehicle down the road, your steering wheels are in front of you. When you're in a Class A, you're either sitting on top of them or they're even slightly behind you, and so like it really changes how you drive.
So now that we've covered all the different types of RVs, let us know if we missed one in the comments below, but we want to get into why you might pick one over the other.
Well, if you're a couple and it's just the two of you, you gotta got the pick of the litter, because honestly, any of
100%.
these could probably work for just a guy and his wife or a guy and his girlfriend. guy and his boyfriend.
A guy and his dog, a girl and her cat. I don't know, any combination of two.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. You can absolutely get more in some of these, but convenience factor aside, like you as a couple, you have the entire pick of the litter, whatever you want, just like we do. It's just the two of us and a dog, so I guess there's three of us. You know.
There we go.
That's why we needed something so big. Our dog, she needs her own dedicated space, so that's why we bought a 40-foot fifth wheel. But she is a princess and a half.
She really
So is this one right here, just so you know.
Listen, yeah, it's true. It's very, very true. But if you have a bigger family, you're gonna wanna go a little bit bigger to give your family a little bit more space. That's where we've seen a lot of families that RV have success with fifth wheels, toy hauler fifth wheels to be specific, or big motorhomes. One thing I really like about the toy hauler aspect is I've seen a ton of families take that garage area of the toy hauler and make it into the kids' bedroom.
Or vice versa, you can make that into mom and dad's master bedroom and make the front bedroom into the kids' bedroom and cram them all in there. Totally different, totally two different options that everyone's done and is really, really fun, but the extra space is nice. There are customized, I shouldn't say customized, there are specialized fifth wheels out there for families called bunk houses, where they basically have like a front bedroom, a mid bedroom, and your regular living space, so you can still fit in more people.
Do you have that in some of the Class A's as well?
Yes, and so obviously the Class A's are another big option because they're usually larger, have a lot more space. Definitely when you're traveling down the road, because if you've got a family of 5 and you're driving in a truck, all 5 of you taking up that space in that truck, there's only 5 seats in a truck, then it's going to be a lot tighter than if you're in a motorhome where mom and dad, or maybe dad's driving and one of the kids is sitting in the front seat and all the rest are sitting in the back. There's a lot more seating while traveling down the road in a Class A and a Super C. I won't say a Class C, a Super C. You get more of that space for the road trip portion.
Yeah, in general, if you're trying to decide between a motorized RV versus a towable RV, there's two really distinct differences that you're going to want to pay attention to. We call them the journey versus the destination.
And so what we mean by that is if you as a family just like to go down the road and you want to enjoy your time going down the road, stopping somewhere, hanging out, doing something, but you're still taking like your motorhome with you, like I don't know the best way to describe it, but like say you're driving down the highway and you see some random, the biggest ball of yarn on the side of the road, and you want to be able to stop, grab all your kids, go out there, take some pictures, yada, 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 and then move on your merry little way. That's where something like a motorhome is really, really beneficial, because you're enjoying the journey, you're stopping along the way, you're doing things. Whereas for us, we're more destination people, so our journey is just about getting from point A to point B, and we essentially, like, once we hitch up in the morning, we're on the highway, we're stopping for lunch and potty breaks, and that's it until we get to where we want to go. Then we unhitch and we go explore.
I think the other main difference, though, with a Class A and being able to kind of leisurely take that journey is you don't have to stop for your passengers to use the bathroom in a Class A, or any kind of motorhome, really. You don't have to stop for your passengers to jump into the fridge and grab lunch or something like that. You only have to stop if the driver needs to stop. Whereas in a fifth wheel, or any kind of tow behind, you're definitely gonna have to stop for bathroom breaks. Not all fifth wheels will allow you access to the fridge or even the bathroom sometimes within the fifth wheel when all the slides are in, so you do have to kind of keep that in mind as well. So you're definitely going to have to stop more often just to make some of those breaks. When you have a big family and you've got a lot of tiny bladders, motorhome might be where it's at.
She's got a tiny bladder. It's like an hour, like it's just on the dot every hour for like the whole first couple of hours of every day. Then by afternoon, she starts to dry up a little bit.
Well, once my coffee has, once I'm done with the coffee and the coffee has run through me, then I'm good to go and we can drive a couple of hours at a time. But in the mornings, man, every hour on the hour, we just have to have a stop.
And the nice thing is by having a fifth wheel with a truck, and our truck, it's not a long bed, we don't have a big old huge gas tank in it, diesel tank in it, and so it kind of works out because we have to stop for her bathroom breaks anyways. I originally was planning on getting like an extra thing to store more diesel so that way we could get farther down the road, and then in the what's the point? I'm having to stop for a bathroom break. So think about your own like travel, like I'm sure even if you haven't RV'd, you've probably gone on a road trip with your family or your spouse or your partner, and so you can kind of conceptualize as you extend that out, what are the use case scenarios? And what we're talking about getting into the bathroom and the kitchen and stuff like that, when you're talking about like a fifth wheel, like we have slide outs. So when our slides come in, we can't access the fridge. We can't access the bathroom, but we have run into, not very many, but one or two where the slides actually prevented you from accessing the bathroom. And those are just non-starters for us, because it doesn't matter what's happening. If you want to be able to stop going down the road and be able to like just get out and be like, I need to use a bathroom right now and I don't want to, wait till the next gas station or whatever.
And that's something to consider when you're in the market and you're looking at different floor plans is one, livability, and two, like how do you actually move around is what I mean by that. How do you like to function on the daily in your home, because that's going to be important too. But also access to the bathroom, the fridge, things like that. The other big difference with motorhomes versus towables is price.
Yes.
If you have a motorhome, you better have some cash, because most of them, now not all, but on the whole, we see a ton of motorhomes in the like $250,000 to $500,000 range. That's like a normal price range for a motorhome. Even for a Super C, that's a normal price range. Whereas I've never seen a fifth wheel go beyond maybe $130,000. Now, I'm not saying that that's where you're gonna pay, but
no.
That's the max that I've seen MSRP for really any kind of towable.
Yeah, and you really don't want to be buying at those super high ends unless you just have money to burn anyways, because RVs are depreciating. That's just how it goes. Like when you buy it, it gains no value. You really don't want to spend too much money, especially on your first starter RV, which is really what we're talking about here, because once you've done it for a little bit, you're gonna figure out you might change. We actually bought ours a little bit on the cheaper side. We had some options, and there was one that we really liked, and it was at this price range, and there was a couple that were a little lower that we were like, this might work, and we kind of went more towards the middle low end of our price range, because we were like, we don't know, like until we've really started full timing. And this is for us as full timers. For you, as if you're just going out on the weekend, no big deal. It may not be as big of a deal for you, but for us, we were like, we don't know what our life's going to be like when we're actually in this thing 24/7 every single day. Our taste may change, and so we don't want to overspend really on our first full-time trailer, knowing that we might be wanting to come back and change it out for something different down the road.
And transparently, we have to say we're biased. Fifth wheels are our jam. We love fifth wheels. We love the livability of a fifth wheel. You cannot get all of the floor plan options in a motorized RV. They just can't do it, because they always are going to have the driver's seat in a certain spot. So it's going to limit them on what they can, how creative they can be on the inside of the camper. And for us, being able to have a really cool theater seat den area, huge rear kitchen at the very back of our RV, and then our bedroom and bathroom up towards the top was the perfect floor plan for us.
So if you're going into this as a full-timer, one thing you need to understand is that your lifestyle is not going to change. And so this is where kind of the bells and whistles portion of the discussion kind of comes up, of how much do you want, what all do you want to deal with, what is more costly and not really worth it, like things like a dishwasher. Like we don't have a dishwasher in our RV, but between the two of us, we don't go through enough dishes. It's really been fine for the two of us. But if you, on your family, maybe there's 5 of you and you're going through dishes constantly, maybe you could use paper plates every once in a while, but save the environment. You might want to have a dishwasher in your RV, and that's totally understandable. And that goes for a lot of the different bells and whistles. Like what?
They have things like lighted underbelly. They have things like lighted cup holders, remote control window shades.
It's so hard to go pull that window shade down myself.
I know. They have all kinds of bells and whistles in some of the newer RVs. And to be honest, some of them are really valuable and really helpful and useful, and some of them are total gimmicks. So you kind of have to evaluate that just on a case-by-case basis. I would say lean more towards, in terms of your final purchase consideration, floor plan, the way you like to travel, the way you like to do life. And if it comes with bells and whistles, great. If it doesn't, you're probably not going to miss many of them anyway. So chime in. If you have the perfect RV for your family, chime in the comments. Let us know what RV you picked and why you picked it.
Yeah, like your circumstances, because this could be really useful for somebody else who's looking. They might be able to search that up and be like, oh no, that makes sense for me. That makes sense for me. going to RV shows, which we're going to be talking about next week, is a great way to see all the floor plans in one place. But talking to other users, talking to other people who've lived this life, have similar needs and similar, I don't know, circumstances, and weekend warrior versus full-timer versus, I don't know, retired family of 2, retired family of 7, I don't know, like, what is a retired family of 7?
Retired family of 7, that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
If you are a retired family of 7, we want to hear from you.
And what RV did you pick?
And what RV did you pick? Well, thanks for joining us. This was fun. Let's do it again next week, and happy camping.
Bye!
This is my we finished an episode happy dance.
So there was this couple that came over and they were like talking, and they had this like massive dog, and I was like, they just stopped right there. They acknowledged, they were like, oh, are you guys filming?
You guys filming? And
yes.
then they just stop right
and
there.
They stopped right there and just kept on talking, so.
Which I get, it's a public park, they can
Yeah,
stop
no.
wherever they want. It was just really funny, like
But isn't this beautiful?
totally oblivious to the filming.
For my audio listeners, there's a beautiful little waterway out here. I'm sure you can hear the wind a little bit through the mics, but it is nice. The wind actually feels amazing. It was a little warm. Granted, we got some shade on us right now to kind of protect from the sun, but with that wind breeze, oh my gosh. I mean,
it's always breezier by the water.